Last April, we started a series, a mindfulness course, if you will, on the 8 skills of mindfulness. And mindfulness skill number 2 is compassion. Compassion is a cornerstone of mindful living. I believe we can't step out into the world as our most compassionate selves if it doesn't start at home first. And we all can use a reminder to be more kind to ourselves. Compassion shifts our brains, our relationships, our everyday experiences. So today, I want to share with you why self-love isn't indulgent, but integral. Integral. You get it. We're going to talk about the science behind compassion, and of course, I have some practices for you to work into your day-to-day. Hello, friend, and welcome to Torches, Yoga, and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren, and I'll be your coach. If you're curious about mindfulness, healing, and practical habits that actually work, you're in the right place. Here we focus on simple but powerful practices grounded in ancient wisdom and modern science to care for both our mind and body. So go ahead, hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Self-love is the relationship we have with our own inner experience. It shapes how we respond to stress, how we speak to ourselves when things feel hard, and how safe our nervous system feels in our daily life. When that relationship is rooted in kindness and respect, we're better able to regulate our emotions, recover from challenges, and stay present rather than being pulled into the self-criticism or the thought spirals of autopilot. And this is where compassion really begins, because the way we meet ourselves becomes the template for how we meet the world. Compassion isn't just a mindset or a personality trait, it's biological. When we practice compassion, especially towards ourselves, we activate areas of the brain associated with emotional regulation, empathy, and connection. These are the same regions that help slow stress responses, process emotions more effectively, and keep us grounded in the present moment. What's important to understand is that compassion is not about suppressing difficult feelings or forcing positivity. It actually helps the brain stay with experiences without becoming overwhelmed. This is why compassion-based practices are linked to greater emotional resilience and lower burnout. And our brains don't only respond when we offer compassion, they respond when we receive it, and even when we simply witness it. So every moment of patience or care creates a ripple effect that extends beyond ourselves. This is also why compassion protects us in a way empathy alone sometimes doesn't work. Empathy allows us to feel with others, but compassion adds steadiness. It lets us care without carrying someone else's pain as our own. That balance is essential for sustainable emotional well-being. Compassion isn't just a feeling, it's something more active. According to research from Dr. Paul Gilbert and others in compassion-focused therapy, compassion includes 5 essential components. First, awareness of suffering. This is the ability to notice pain in ourselves or others. Second, feeling emotionally moved, allowing ourselves to be touched by that suffering rather than turning away from it. Third is an understanding that suffering is a part of the shared human experience, recognizing that everyone who has breathed has faced or will face difficulty at some point. Fourth is tolerating uncomfortable feelings. This is where we stay present without needing to avoid, fix, or rush past discomfort. And finally, taking action to alleviate or prevent suffering. Sometimes that action is external, but often it begins internally with how we respond to ourselves. Awareness teaches us to notice our thoughts, emotions, and patterns without judgment. But noticing without kindness can leave us feeling detached or harsh with ourselves. Compassion allows us to respond to what we notice with care. And if we hope to extend kindness and care outward, self-compassion has to come first. When we notice a hurt in ourselves, when we get activated by a stressful encounter, and we pause, not to analyze or to fix, but simply to notice. We give our thoughts and emotions space to move through us more naturally. Instead of identifying with them, we stay with them. There's another important distinction to name here too. Compassion is not the same thing as empathy alone. Empathy allows us to feel with others, but without grounding, it can lead to emotional exhaustion. This is why mindfulness based compassion is so protective. It allows us to stay connected without draining our emotional reserves. And that protection begins internally with how we relate to our own thoughts, our emotions, and limits. When self compassion is present, caring no longer costs us our well being. One practice we always have available to us is compassionate self touch. When emotions feel heavy or consuming, try placing a gentle hand over your chest or your heart, your abdomen, or maybe your face, or it feels nice to give yourself a hug. There's no wrong way to do this as long as you feel connected and at ease. With the compassionate self touch, you can add another layer of compassion by offering yourself a few quiet words of reassurance internally or out loud. I choose to be kind to myself today. These emotions are a welcome part of this experience. This simple combination of touch and kind words activates the body's calming system. It tells the nervous system, it's okay, we're safe right now. Another gentle way to practice self-compassion is through a micro loving kindness pause. You can do this almost anywhere. While doing chores, sitting in traffic, or waiting in line, take a breath and silently say, may I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the care I need. This isn't about forcing positivity, it's about gently redirecting your inner voice towards kindness. Research shows that even brief loving kindness practices like this can reduce reactivity and increase emotional resilience. We don't need long meditation sessions. Sometimes a moment of intention is enough. The final practice I want to share today is what I call the good enough practice. We live in a culture that celebrates doing more, being better, and pushing harder. Compassion asks a different question. What if what I did today was enough? At the end of your day, instead of asking, did I get everything done? Try asking, did I show up as best I could today? If the answer is yes, even if it's a hesitant yes, place a hand over your heart and say, we've done enough. Compassion creates space for growth without burnout. We don't have to chase perfection to be worthy of care. When our inner world is met with kindness rather than criticism, we create more internal space. And from that space, we naturally show up with more presence, patience, and care in our relationships. Not because we're trying harder, but because we're no longer bracing against ourselves. This is one of the often missed effects of self compassion. It changes how we show up with others without requiring us to perform compassion outwardly. Our nervous system feels safer, our reactions soften, and we're more available to what's actually happening in front of us. Compassion in community isn't just about a kind gesture, it's about holding space. It's recognizing that the person in front of you, just like you, is carrying their own struggles, grief, frustration, fear, or pain. And instead of asking, what's wrong with them, we begin to wonder, what might they be carrying today? Sometimes compassion looks like offering help. Other times it looks like listening, speaking up, or simply sitting beside someone and letting them know they're not alone. This kind of presence ripples outward. It shifts the energy. And when we show up this way consistently, we quietly contribute to a more compassionate culture, one interaction at a time. And just like practices of self love, we can intentionally practice compassion towards others. A great, always accessible practice is generous listening. When someone is speaking to you, instead of planning what you're going to say or just waiting for your turn to speak, see if you can gently remind yourself, this person, just like me, wants to be heard and understood. And just listen. Let go of that urge to fix, correct, advise, or judge. Simply receive their words. This practice honors another person's experience without taking responsibility for it. And at the same time, it deepens our own mindfulness and self trust. If you're someone who enjoys journaling, I would definitely encourage you to write down what you notice afterwards, after your generous listening practices. How did your body feel? Did the conversation feel lighter, or did anything surprise you? Using practices like these softens judgment and recenters our heart. Compassion is a skill. You may not have been taught it growing up, but the good news is you can still develop the skill with practice. It's not always with words and not always with action. Sometimes all that's needed is our presence. Friend, compassion is not something you earn once you've healed enough, done enough, or become better. It's something you practice right where you are in the middle of your real life with the body and the nervous system that you have today. Self-compassion doesn't make us complacent. It makes us resilient. It gives us a place to land when things are hard and a way to stay present when life feels uncertain. And when that kindness becomes part of how we relate to ourselves, it quietly changes how we move through the world. You don't need to practice everything we talked about today. Choose one moment, one breath, one pause where you meet yourself with a little more care than you did yesterday. That's enough. That is the practice. Friend, thank you for sharing a piece of your day with me. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you soon.